So guys, it's that time of the week again, back for our championship score predictions. Let's jump into this one. Guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. Really interesting weekend of football we got coming up now. As of recording, we've currently got 10 championship matches that are coming up this weekend. Currently 2 of them have been called off due to a frozen pitch. So Rotherham against QPR and Sheffield Wednesday against Swansea, both being postponed at this point in time due to a frozen pitch. But apart from that, loads of other chances to pick up some points and get yourself onto that prediction league. Before we do jump into anything though, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsors over at OneFootball. As always, if you've not already, make sure to go and check out the new OneFootball app, link down below. Really handy to have to stay on top of everything that is going on around the championship and the footballing world in general. You can get live updates to your phone whenever a goal goes in, read up on the opposition that you're coming up against this weekend in a little bit more detail, look at their key plays and look at their individual stats so far this season. That's what I find it really handy for. But yeah, just stay on top of everything. OneFootball is the place to be. If we take a look at the prediction league and what the midweek fixtures meant for the standings, we've now got 2 people in the main league who have now broken the 60-point barrier, and a massive shout out goes to everyone that got 9 points in midweek. Obviously we only had 3 games going on, so those of you who got 9 points got all your score predictions correct. This is how League 1's looking at the moment, only 4 points separating the bottom from the top, and this is how League 2's looking, also similarly really close, only 3 points separating top from bottom. And like I mentioned last time, there's absolutely loads of people who are just a couple of points away from getting into that prediction league, so make sure to get them in the comments down below. But without any further ado guys, let's just jump into this one. So let's start out with tonight's game. We got a Lancashire derby going on at Ewood Park as Blackburn go up against Preston North End. Now myself as a Preston fan, I'm not particularly confident going into this one. I think that with the current way our team's shaping up, it's a tough prediction to make without actually seeing the starting 11. If we defend anything like we did at the weekend against Rotherham, I think that Blackburn could absolutely run through us in this one. Obviously that happened earlier on in the season at Deepdale. It was a bit of a non-event in the second half really. Obviously Joe Rafferty gets sent off right at the end of the first half, and then Blackburn just completely passed the ball around us. Now speaking of Blackburn, they've not exactly been the free scoring side lately that they were at the start of the season. They've actually only scored more than 1 goal in just 1 of their last 8 championship matches now. So the goals have dried up a little bit, but I'm a little bit cautious that, maybe Preston could play into Blackburn's hands here if we don't go with our strongest back line for this one. I'm hoping that Alan Brown and Greg Cunningham are brought into that back line, because without them we are, no doubt a lot weaker in that area. For a score prediction, I'm going to go for a draw in this one. Blackburn's home record has been a little bit hit and miss when it comes to playing those sides in the top half of the championship, so I'm going to go for a draw in this one, although I do fear that if we concede early, Blackburn could absolutely run away with this one again. But I'm going to go for a 1-1, maybe a bit optimistically. FIFA's going to go 2-0 Preston. I just hope we turn up for this one. Next up then, and into Saturday's games, we've got Nottingham Forest going up against Bournemouth. Now Bournemouth building off the back of that win against Birmingham at the weekend, knocking Burnley out of the cup. Some really good performances in there. I think that Bournemouth fans now realise what a player they've got on their hands in Ben Pearson. I'd be interested to see if any of those players who got a start in that cup game managed to force their way into the league side for the rest of the season. Billing played really well in that game as well. Their midfield especially, they've got some wonderful options in there. But this game can't be taken lightly because Forest are on a very good run of form at the moment. Only 1 loss now for Forest in their last 10 matches. They've not always been the best side to watch, but they've been effective. And the last game in the championship, 3 goals put away against Wycombe. Really efficient stuff going forward. Glenn Murray with a brace in that one. Some nice link-up play between Garner and Kravinovic in midfield. So the midfield battle you feel will be quite a big one in this one. As a score prediction, I honestly don't think there'll be all too much in it. Forest, like I say, will be riding high on confidence at the moment. I'm going to go for a draw in this one. Going to say 1-1. Bournemouth starting to turn their season around, but the Sea Ground's been a tough place to go lately. I'll say 1-1. FIFA saying 1-0 Bournemouth. Next up, we then go to St Andrews in a massive game in Birmingham season. We got Birmingham going up against Luton. They all seem big for Birmingham from now until the end of the season with the current situation that they find themselves in. Last time a loss against Bournemouth, a little bit better going forward, but defensively absolutely woeful, as they've been for the majority of the season so far. For a manager like Karanka, who normally prides himself on defensive stability, Birmingham have been leaky all season, just 1 win now from their last 11 matches. Now, there has been a bit of a weird trend in the championship recently, whereby as soon as a team drops into the bottom 3, their form starts to pick up out of nowhere. Birmingham will be hoping that that will come true of them as well. Luton themselves aren't exactly on the greatest of runs of form at the moment, just 2 wins from their last 9, but throughout those games there have been a few where they have been a little bit unlucky not to go on and get a little bit more from them. Obviously with Scott Hogan getting the brace for Birmingham last time, they'll be hoping that he'll be able to find a bit of form for the second half of the season. Weirdly enough, I've got a bit of a gut feeling that Birmingham might somehow get through this one. I think it won't be a pretty game of football and they'll probably have to ride their luck at times, but I'm going to go outside the box. I'm going to go 1-0 Birmingham in this game just because I feel like it's an absolutely massive one in their season, and if they lose this one, it could be the end for Arta Karanka. I'm going to go 1-0 Blues. FIFA's going 0-0. Next up we then go to Cardiff up against Coventry. Now Cardiff, to be fair to them, since the appointment of Mick McCarthy, they've slowly started to turn their season around. 2 wins, 2 draws in the last 4 matches. Obviously a good win for them in midweek against a pretty informed Rotherham side, winning that one quite late on. It was always going to be a tough sort of game with how they're playing at the moment, but yeah, fair play to Mick McCarthy. It didn't really seem like maybe the most inspired managerial signing at the time, but he's getting a tune out of this Cardiff squad at the moment. I think that the top 6 may still be one step too far for them, but hey, if they carry on playing like this, in a couple of weeks time we might be having a little bit of a different conversation. Now Coventry have been an interesting side lately. I thought they were quite unlucky in their game at the weekend, the goalless draw against Watford. They had their chance in that game, just couldn't quite take them, but they did get in some decent areas, so I am expecting them to ask some questions of this Cardiff squad. But Cardiff are just doing enough to win matches at the moment, and I think they may go ahead and do the same in this one. I'm going to go 2-1 Cardiff in this game, with FIFA saying it'll be 1-0 Coventry. Next up then we're going to Derby up against Middlesbrough. Now we've not seen Derby in action for quite a bit of time. Obviously they weren't in action over the weekend due to their game against Barnsley being called off, so they've had quite a bit of time to sort of reflect on that 3-0 loss against Rotherham. Derby, really tough side to put your finger on so far this season. They've been obviously really against those sides near the top of the table so far, but let themselves down in the other ones. I feel like for Derby, probably more so than a lot of other championship clubs, the first goal is absolutely pivotal in their matches. If they concede first, you never really see them getting back into it, but when they score that first goal, they've been pretty decent lately at holding on to leads. Now Middlesbrough have been pretty stuttering in their form recently. They've only won 1 of their last 6 now. However, saying that, their last couple of performances haven't been all too bad for me. I know they conceded 4 against Brentford, but they created some really good chances in that game. Obviously with some of the new attacking reinforcements that came in throughout January, there is a little bit more room for optimism in terms of Middlesbrough scoring a few more goals potentially for the second half of the season. Having said that, I'm going to go for a draw in this game. I'm going to go for a 1-1. FIFA's going to go 2-0 Derby. First goal feels very, very important for that one, but I don't see there being all too much in this one. Going 1-1. Next up, let's then go to Huddersfield up against Wycombe. Now, Wycombe, a real hammer blow for them in midweek, losing 2-0 to Sheffield Wednesday. Really quite a poor performance in what looked like a must-win game in their season if they wanted to survive. It's a Wycombe side who is conceding a lot of goals at the moment. 12 goals conceded now in their last 4 games. I know the 7 they conceded against Brentford sort of skews that stat a little bit, but nevertheless, it's going to be a real uphill battle from here on in for the rest of the season, I have the feeling. Now, Huddersfield themselves don't find themselves on a good run and will be nervously looking over their shoulder at the moment. They're without a win now in their last 6 matches. They're only 5 points above the relegation zone, and at this point in time, with the current run they're on, do very much look like that next side who could really be dragged into this relegation scrap should they not pick up a good result here. Now, for Huddersfield, in terms of some of their recent performances, it's sort of as if they're like playing with a hand tied behind their back. They're really shooting themselves in the foot with the sort of goals they're conceding at the moment. A lot of them sort of coming from their misplaced passes at the back and things like that. They're really allowing the opposition a free pass to get back into the game against them, but you feel like this one's a must win for them. So I'm just going to edge Huddersfield. I'm going to go 2-1 in this game, with FIFA saying it'll be 2-0 Huddersfield. Next up we then got Norwich going up against Stoke. Now the race for the title this season is absolutely fascinating, with Norwich ever so slightly dropping off recently. Swansea have been fantastic and Brentford have been absolutely outstanding. A real statement win from them in midweek. So Norwich, more than anything, need to get back to winning football matches. Emi Buendia will be back this weekend, which is obviously a massive benefit for them moving forward. But Stoke have been a tricky old customer to go up against recently. So 2 of Norwich's last 3 matches have each finished as goalless draws. You feel like this one may also have that cagey sort of feel about it, especially with Stoke being the drawing experts of the Championship recently. 6 of their last 8 matches have finished as draws. This is Stoke we're talking about here. So Stoke have been a bit of an odd side lately, I think it's fair to say. We look back on it earlier on in the week, since Tyrese Campbell's injury, they've actually only won 1 Championship match, which, I mean, really showed how much they were relying on his sort of little edge in the final third at the start of the season. For a score prediction here, a 0-0 wouldn't surprise me, but I think I'm just going to edge Norwich in this one. I think that with Buendia being back, more than anything, they need to start winning football matches with how good Swansea and Brentford have been lately. So I'm just going to edge the home side for a 1-0 here, with FIFA saying it'll be 1-0 Stoke. Should be an interesting one. Next up then, we're going to Reading up against Millwall. Now, Reading obviously were in action in midweek. They did lose against Brentford. No real shame in that at the moment with the way that Brentford are going. And for the first half especially, Reading put in a decent performance here. They had their fair share of chances, but the second half of the game just slipped away from them. Now, for Reading to really solidify their place in the top 6 this season, these are the sort of matches that they need to get back to winning. Obviously, they've had a couple of frustrating goalless draws in their recent run of form, obviously a 0-0 against Preston and against Stoke, where they've been going into those games thinking they were both quite winnable, really. Millwall's form, in fairness to them, has picked up slightly recently. They are now unbeaten in their last 5, albeit quite a few draws have been dotted in throughout there, but they put 4 goals past Sheffield Wednesday last time out at the Den, so maybe we'll see a few more goals from this Millwall side now heading into the second half of the season. I know that Millwall fans will be desperately hoping that that's the case. The reverse fixture earlier in the season finishes a draw between these two. I don't think there'll be all too much in it, but I'm just going to edge Reading here to maybe have a little bit more quality. I'm going to go 2-1 to the home side, with FIFA saying it'll be a 0-0 draw. Next up we then go to Watford up against Bristol City. Watford needing to get back to winning ways. Their form has tailed off recently. 2 goalless draws and obviously that loss to QPR in their last 3 matches. Back at home for this one though, up against a very inconsistent Bristol City side recently. Obviously Bristol City were in action in the FA Cup in midweek. They lost that one 1-0 against Sheffield United. The Billy Shot penalty ultimately being the decider in that one. Sheffield United were knocking on the door, I think, for the majority of that game, but Bristol City at 0-0 had this unbelievable chance to take the lead. Nahki Wells, all he needs to do is square it to Jamie Patterson, but decides to take the shot on himself, and Wells has been a real frustrating player for Bristol City all season, I have the feeling. I don't know whether it's a lack of confidence or what, but he just doesn't seem to be particularly in the right headspace at the moment. In terms of the game itself, I see it being a fairly low scoring one, to be honest with you. From open play, each side's been struggling recently, and I'm just going to edge Watford here, maybe to win it with a penalty or something like that, but I'm going to go 1-0 Watford, with FIFA saying it'll be 2-0 Watford. And then to finish off today's video on Sunday, we've got Brentford going up against Barnsley. Each side was in action in midweek. Obviously Brentford picking up another win and extending their unbeaten run. They saw off Reading by 3-1. Really impressive stuff in the second half. I mean, Ivan Toney's still stealing the headlines. He's involved in a goal or assist in the Championship every 76 minutes, which is absolutely outrageous. He's on target to break all sorts of records going forward this season, but De Silva in midfield was absolutely magic to watch. Took his 2 goals in midweek superbly well, and at this point in time you really can't see anything slowing down this Brentford side. Now Barnsley actually put in a decent performance in midweek. Obviously they were in the FA Cup against Chelsea, lost 1-0, but definitely had their fair share of chances going forward. You know, they put out a fairly strong lineup, and on another day could have easily had 1 or 2 goals in that one. The only thing that I've not really been convinced by with Barnsley so far this season has been that record against the top 6 clubs. You know, that's been the sort of thing that's been holding them back from really mounting a push for the top 6. I think they've only won 1 game against the side currently in the playoff positions at the moment. That was against Watford earlier on into the season. So for a score prediction, I think I've got to be back in Brentford again. I'm going to go 3-1 to the home side. They're just scoring so many goals at the moment, with FIFA saying it'll be a 1-1 draw. But guys, there we have it. There are my Championship score predictions for I see happening in this weekend's game. So do get all your thoughts in the comments down below. Get your score predictions in there and get yourself onto the prediction leaderboard. Hopefully we don't have any more games that are called off due to any frozen pitches or anything like that, but if you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Please do subscribe for a bit of regular Championship content. But apart from that, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.